All right, well, welcome into the Kingdom Entrepreneur Show. I am excited about this episode. I've got my good friend Bryan Dulaney here, and we're going to get right into it, guys. As you know, every week I want to bring to you an incredible Kingdom entrepreneur who is not just doing amazing things in the marketplace, but also is rooted in Kingdom revelation and in showing up powerfully and expanding the Kingdom through their work. And so, Bryan, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. It's great to be here.
I know we've done some stuff together, so we're gonna have some fun. So, guys, we're gonna have fun today. Yeah. You don't always know all of your guests at the same level. Bryan and I have become friends now. When did we really meet?
Fun Hiking Live.
Fun Hiking Live, almost a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost a year.
Yep.
That's a cool story. We might tell that story.
That's fun.
So actually, we probably should, right? Yeah, so almost a year ago, Funnel Hacking Live 2019.
Yep.
Right? We met in the Inner Circle area, and I recognized you from the Willy Wonka ads.
Yep.
Right? The Golden Ticket.
Yep.
How many guys out there saw the Golden Ticket campaign where you saw yours truly dress up as Willy Wonka, proving that a marketer is willing to do just about anything for conversions. And that campaign crushed. We'll talk about that a little bit. So we met there, and then you had seen some of my ads, I guess, for HunterX, and we were just kind of connecting.
Yeah.
Man, let's start off the show with just your story about, I think your backstory is so fascinating, and it's kind of how we connected.
Yeah.
Tell us about your backstory, man. Tell us about, when you got saved and your journey to entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So I think, for me, my journey to entrepreneurship was growing up watching my dad. He was an entrepreneur. My grandfather was an inventor. So, and he loved fishing. I love fishing. That's where I got my fishing love.
Oh, okay.
Love for fishing.
I was wondering.
Yeah, my great grandfather.
Awesome.
And I spent a ton of time with him, but I think my entrepreneurial spirit came a lot from my dad. But when I was less than 3 years old, my parents found me on the floor, and I unscrewed my entire crib. They said every screw in the crib was undone. That's how much I didn't want to be in a box. And that's what, as an entrepreneur, we don't like to be put in a box.
How do you
even do that at 3 years old? I have no idea. They said I had a screwdriver in my hand, and I had a death grip on a screwdriver.
What if you missed your calling, bro? You could have been like a Houdini.
Yeah.
You could have been like a magic, escape artist.
Yeah.
And now Bryan Dulaney is going to escape out of a straitjacket and handcuffs and this iron box of 6 feet underwater. That could have been you, but no.
Dude, I wish we had cameras back then, because it would have been amazing to watch me be able to do that. I still don't understand how I had the strength.
That would have gone viral.
How did I have the strength to unscrew an entire crib with one screw? How did I think to get the screwdriver in the first place?
Yeah. You obviously wanted out.
I wanted out.
You wanted out at 3. Where you were going to go, I don't know, but
Right. My parents were like, well, I guess it's time for a bed.
Time for a bed, bro. Time for a bed.
So I think for me, I got to watch my dad be an entrepreneur.
That's cool.
And I went to work with my dad in his office when I was a teenager.
Do?
So what he did is he brought together buyers and sellers of supply chain technology.
Okay.
So back in the day,
supply chain, that's early. He must have been
he was
early days,
80s, 90s. Oh, wow. I remember when Yahoo came on as the first, it came on as a search engine. I remember the day Yahoo went live. I remember when you could buy domain names left and right, and I wish I would have bought.
Of course.
Oh man, some of those domain names. My dad had a domain name. Someone wanted to buy one of his domain names for $160,000 back then.
Wow.
His brother didn't want to sell it, so he ended up holding on to it. I would have sold that thing, but and it was a silly domain name too. It wasn't even good. It wasn't clothing.com or something, right? But I think that's where I got my entrepreneurial spirit. I was able to see my dad, driven by serving others and running the show.
That's cool.
Yeah, we had a great life.
So a different story. Obviously, I grew up. My parents are immigrants, and some immigrants go very hardcore entrepreneurial, and some immigrants go towards education and career and employment as the path. Right. So my parents went more that way. They pushed us towards college, and so I was the first, to my knowledge, the first real entrepreneur in our family. Wow. And the first one to get saved. In a non-Catholic kind of context. Yeah. So it was, for me, it was a bit of a. It was a jump. It was a leap. I spent 6 months. I basically chickened out. I drove to work for 6 months, planning on quitting that day. Wow. Because I already had my side hustle kind of going, and literally chickened out 6 months in a row. That's how wired I was for safety through a job,
Yeah.
So having a dad that you're able to watch as an entrepreneur kind of probably made that a little bit easier for you.
Yeah.
So what was your launch into entrepreneurship? And you have a crazy story about when you were in college.
I have a crazy salvation story too.
Yeah.
But it's like, so I started selling Jolly Ranchers in 3rd grade. So like, my brain was just wired. So I would buy them for like 10 cents, sell them for 25 cents, something like that. So my first box I got my parents.
Is that Kingdom, Brian?
That's called profit.
Dude,
and that's called kingdom.
That's a significant markup, man. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, listen, what happened was, it was funny.
Was there Costco back then? Because if you bought in Costco...
No, there wasn't.
You got wholesale, then chop it down.
I know. I wish there was
Costco. You got straight you bought retail.
I bought retail.
And then...
And just marked it up. It was supply and demand. The schools didn't sell it, right?
Oh, you couldn't get candy at schools back then?
No, they have like, all the other crap in the machines, right? So I had my parents buy my box, and I said, you buy me my first box, and I'll just reinvest the profits, and I'll give you back your initial investment. Yeah. So
just stake me in the game, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, just get me in.
Buy me the first box.
Kids want this stuff. I know. I'll prove it. So, dude, I got to the point where my backpack was
of course they want
loaded with Jolly Ranchers, and I was carrying Jolly Rancher boxes to school, and I couldn't even take my books because
what these books when you're making money.
Oh man! So what happened one day?
You mean the ones?
The sticks.
Oh,
they were the sticks. Remember those?
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Oh, so good.
The cherry.
What happened though? One day, the principal came to me. And he's like,
of course.
"Hey, we need to talk." Right? And I'm like in 3rd grade. So he's like, "Sorry, you can't sell. You can't. This isn't a for-profit institute. You can't sell stuff."
Why not?
And I was like, well, why not? Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. And I was like, well, maybe you should sell these in your vending machines, and then they wouldn't have to buy them from me. Right? I'm like, this is what they want. They don't want that stuff. Right?
I'm just meeting demand.
Yeah, I'm just meeting the demand.
You should be happy because I'm making the students happier.
Right. Exactly. So that was my first entrepreneurial.
You got shut down.
So I got shut down. Yeah. I had to throw in the towel.
How much inventory were you stuck with, bro?
I don't remember. I probably ate it all.
You had to eat it all.
Yeah. Oh man, it was fun though.
3rd grade, so you were 8 years old. 8 years old.
Yep.
Okay. Then
I jumped forward, and then in 5th grade, I started selling pencils. So I was in middle grade, or was it middle school this time? I don't know. It was 5th grade.
It was number 2 pencils.
I was in 5th grade, yeah. So I was selling Pentec pencils, and we would do pencil wars.
With the clicks?
So no.
Oh.
Pencils, back in the day, it was a thing.
Pentec, I remember Pentec. Yeah.
Pentec pencils.
Pencil wars.
Pencil wars, yeah. So
They'd snap them like crazy.
Oh.
How much for pencils?
I don't remember.
$1?
But I definitely was marking them up.
Of course.
For sure.
Shocker.
I understood the value of marking things up and making a profit. And I was really good at pencil wars. So people would they would buy them from me.
You break them.
And they would be like, hey.
Oh, man.
So I would come to...
You were creating your own demand by breaking your pencils. Wow.
So what you do is you take the eraser out.
This is a racket.
And then... Well, it was a racket. You take the eraser out and then you bite the end. And you make it into like a razor.
Knife, like a razor. Dang, dude. Yeah. This is before.
This is before
pre-Kingdom Revelation.
Pre-Kingdom. This is pre-Christian. Pre-Christian for sure.
This is what we call a hustle.
That's right.
We sell pencils. I break your pencil, and then you got to come buy the new pencil from me. That's all. Hey, whatever, man. You're doing it. You're fifth grade.
I was in 5th grade.
When you start as an entrepreneur,
you're trying everything.
You're trying everything, and there might be some unredeemed, unrefined methods, and
for sure.
We're all in a journey. But now, obviously, so you've been an entrepreneur from the get. When'd you get saved?
So I got saved when I was 16. What happened was I grew up Catholic, so Christmas, Easter, kind of thing, and we didn't really go to church much other than that. When I was in middle school, though, I started going to a Lutheran church because where I lived is in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. It's Amishville. It's Honeybrook, Pennsylvania specifically.
Wow.
And in our neighborhood, we had an elementary school. So I walked to school every day.
You did?
Yep, walked to school. And then at the school, church was on Sunday, right? One of those, like, church plants.
Sure.
And it was a Lutheran church. So I actually was driven to go by myself, actually. So I started going. And I started bringing my friends along.
Huh.
And then my parents were like, well, we should probably go to church too. Like, our son's going to church, you know? So I dragged them
They
in.
should seem like responsible parents.
Yeah. So I started dragging them to church.
How old was it? You were 16?
I was fascinating. No, I was before I was 16. I wasn't technically saved yet.
All right.
But I was just being called to church,
Interesting.
which is interesting, right? Well, when I was 16, my dad, when I was 15, my dad was driving down the road and he heard "Seek God" as loud as if someone was in the back of his car. It was like, "Seek God," right? And I had just rocked my dad. Like, my dad was driving home from work, whatever, pulled over, like, just rocked.
Wow.
And that was when my dad was far from God. He was, like, living for himself, and he was addicted to, he had an addiction to cocaine at the time. Dad was an awesome guy and still is, but he just had an addiction to cocaine.
Yeah.
And that was God, like, you know, getting his attention.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
So my dad went to a Christian rehab center called Keswick, America's Keswick, and it's in New Jersey. And so basically it's for guys who have addiction problems. It's men only. They go there to, like, for 90 days and kind of get clean and just get immersed in the scripture with other men.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I went there when I was visiting my dad one weekend. And
How old were you at the time?
I was 16.
Okay.
And then, so in the church temple, you know, chapel, whatever, they gave the message of salvation, and that's when I received the Holy Spirit. That's
At
when
a
I
rehab.
accepted Christ. At that place, yeah, at America's Keswick, at that place.
Wow.
Some gnarly dudes too in that spot too. Like,
Of course.
some dudes were like on, like, good leave from prison. Like, it was like some gnarly dudes.
Yeah.
Like, my dad was like, you know,
He was
like,
the cleanest
He was
cut
the cleanest cut dude.
there.
Like, there was bank robbers there. Like, it was gnarly, bro. Like, some of these guys were pretty intense. Like, the stories were gnarly. Like, every dude had, like, a gnarly story. Oh, it was
He
great.
has, like, I sell software.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I bring together buyers and sellers.
Oh, man.
But that radically transformed my life. I received the Holy Spirit. I felt tangibly could feel the presence of the Holy Spirit come upon me.
Wow.
But from that, I had, you know, I was in high school, so I had my foot in the world, and I had all my friends that were in the world, and then we started going to church. And then we started studying scripture, and we found mentors. My parents found this older couple, Bob and Josie.
Okay.
And they were an incredible blessing to us. They taught us how to pray. They taught us the word.
Oh, awesome.
It was awesome. It was awesome. So then that's kind of what set me on a trajectory of, you know, seeking God and figuring out, you know, what's...
Man, that's awesome, man. 16. That's
16.
blessing, man.
Super.
So you go through high school, go to college.
So I go through high school, and I'd already been... So I went through high school, and then I applied to a secular school. Okay, so, like, I went to a secular school growing up. Like, I didn't go to Christian, I didn't go to private. Went to public school, right? So I applied to, you know, public university. And I applied to all these different schools, and I ended up going to Slippery Rock University.
All right.
Okay?
Slippery Rock.
Slippery Rock, which is in Pennsylvania.
Come on, bro. You
Pittsburgh.
should have known, bro.
I know, right?
I mean,
I know, right?
Dude, come on, bro. Like, I'm trying to tell you, like, don't come here. It's Slippery Rock.
Yeah. I know. I should have known the name.
You should have known the name, bro.
So I was there, and the first year that I was there, I just, you know, immersed myself into college, and it was a lot of partying.
College life.
I didn't have my church community, my culture. I didn't have, like, friends that I went to school with, or I didn't have friends that I went to college with. I had one guy that went to my high school that was also there.
All right.
And so I ended up at Slippery Rock University, and then the second year at Slippery Rock is when I joined a fraternity.
Okay.
And then everything.
That's a story that I know. So you pledge a fraternity. They have the rush week, right?
Yep.
So you got to go through a bunch of stuff. Those of you guys that might know about this. So then what happened? You're pledging.
So I was pledging. I was hanging out with these guys the first year, anyways. Like the guy that I went to high school with, he was in the fraternity. Like, he pledged to go to the fraternity, and I was already hanging with these guys. They're like, you know, Dulaney, like, we want you on the team. Like, we want you with us. You're already hanging with us all the time. We'll be easy on you. Like, just you need to pledge. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I wanted to do something. Like, I was literally, like, looking for something to do. I was like, okay, do I do sports? I grew up playing baseball. Do I do, you know, fraternity life? I just wanted to get involved in something on campus outside of school. I knew I needed to plug into something. So anyways, long story short, I go start pledging the fraternity, and it was Big Brother night. So Big Brother night's intense. It's basically initiation, where you know, kind of get initiated in. And that's when, you know, that's when basically we went through that process, which was, you know, kind of a hell in a way, because you go, they take everyone to a house, and then you go in like this dark garage, and they're playing grunge music, and then you go down to the basement, and they're just like saying all types of negative stuff in the dark to you, and it's like very militant.
It's like Halloween.
It's like Halloween.
Trying to beat you up a little.
Trying to beat you up, and they're trying to break you down, right? So went through that.
The bro down.
Yeah.
The bro down, beat down.
And then right after, like, they did all that like stuff, and then like we finally came through, and then they like flipped the lights on, like, congratulations. It's like they completely 360. It's like they went from like tearing you down, calling you all kinds of crazy words, and then like, congratulations, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're awesome, like hugging you.
We were just kidding.
Yeah, just kidding.
We really don't hate you.
and then that's when they brought out the alcohol, and that's really like this is where like everything changed for me. Like my whole trajectory of my entire life, I believe, was like, this was a defining moment. You know. So what happened next was we went out to another house, and we started taking shots, and I was playing some game, and they pulled all these shots out of the freezer. So they're like, give this guy a shot, give that guy a shot, and they're like, Dulaney, drink these 5 shots. And like, I'm like, okay, fine. Like, I'm Russian and I'm Irish. I can kind of drink a little bit.
I would think
so. They're like, here, Dulaney, drink these shots, right? So 5 shots lined up, and I took the 5 shots, and that's about all I remember.
Wow.
After that. Okay. Then the next day I wake up, you know, in a white room, you know, in a hospital bed with 3 doctors rushing to my bedside singing, he's alive. Like, he's alive, he's alive. Like, they're rushing into my bed. And the doctor says, son, you're a living miracle. My 30 years of being a doctor, I've never seen anyone with your severe condition live, let alone be able to comprehend what I said. Your blood alcohol last night was 0.39, and 0.4 I was dead. And so that
literally, like, here's 5 shots.
Yep.
The next thing you remember is a doctor who can't believe you're alive.
Yep.
Like, literally goes like, this never happens.
Yep.
0.39 or 0.039 or something like.
0.39.
0.39 alcohol. Yep. 0.40 your brain dead.
You're dead. You're out.
They couldn't believe it. You have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
You wake up, and then your parents...
I was in a coma for 8 hours. So I was in a coma all night. They called my parents the night before and was like, your son's probably going to die, be brain dead for life. That was actually what they said on the phone.
Wow.
Now, my parents back home, they answered the phone. It was like 12:30 at night or whatever, 12:30 in the morning. And so they were 6 hours across the state. So they're on the whole other side of the state.
Right.
My dad said he remembers waking up and getting the call, and they just prayed. And they just, you know, prayed for my healing, my protection. Mm-hmm. And then they said they just had a peace about it all. They just had complete peace on it. And then they drove across the strait or across the country, and then, you know, then they were there a little bit before I came out of the coma.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, praying parents.
Yeah.
Prayer works, man. Prayer works, man.
Yeah, got to be.
And you find out when you find out when you need it to come through. Right. So all right, so like you had this near death experience, and you're what, 19, 20 years old?
I was not even 21.
Not even 21.
I was I was 20.
All right. So how does that...
Just turned 20.
How did
that... a couple days.
Like, how did that impact you? What decisions, or how did that alter how you thought about life?
Yeah. So everything changed, and I would say even the decisions I make today are because of what happened at that moment. I call it mortality motivation at this point. It's like because I pretty much died and came back to life. I was in a coma. I was pretty much dead. It's like I feel compelled to like get things done and make an impact and do things with my life, right? But from that moment, so I realized, number one, I was hanging around the wrong people. Yeah. Like, I got to stop hanging around the wrong group of people, because these people are bad influences on me.
Slippery rock, bro.
Slippery rock.
Gotta get
out of there.
Slippery rock. Don't sue me. I'm just playing.
But that's one. And then the other thing was, I realized the doctor said, you're a living miracle. Like, God's got to have a plan and purpose for your life. Like, there's no other explanation.
The doctor said that.
The doctor said that, right? And traditional doctor. So we're driving back from campus, and we're driving back, and a little tiny church, little hole in the wall, tiny, like, thing looks like a shed. Mm-hmm. It said, little sign off front said, God has a plan and purpose for your life. Right. And my dad's like, I think that's a sign for you. Like, that's the second time today.
Right.
You've heard this.
Right.
Like, I think you need to pay attention, right? And so we just had a great conversation, my dad and I, when driving back to school. I'd lost my wallet. I'd lost my car. I didn't know where that was. It got impounded. It was like parked in the wrong place. It was a hot mess, man. And my roommates, they were like practically alcoholics. One guy, they were both on the football team, and that's all they did. They went to football, they went to school, and they just partied all the time. The school, there's nothing to do. Everyone just parties.
That's it.
And I knew like I needed to surround myself with different people, and I wasn't hanging around Christians at all. Like I wasn't. So yeah, I became a Christian when I was 16, but I had my foot in the world and I had my foot in the church. And the more you're in the world, the more you have people that are that are influenced by the flesh, the more you get sucked into the flesh. Yeah. Especially when you're a new Christian. That's what happened to me. Yeah. And so I knew I had to shift. I had to shift everything. Like I had to change who I was hanging with, and I had to change the trajectory of my life and figure out what my purpose was. Because I knew there's no reason I should be here. Right. So God, what's my purpose? Yeah. Why am I here? Right? Yeah. Like what's the purpose? So I went down.
You were pressing in.
I was pressing in hard. Yeah. And so I transferred down to Clearwater Christian College to be a pastor. So I actually went for pastoral studies. So I went from business to pastoral studies in one semester.
I was like, God, you saved my life. I'm going to serve you.
Yep, that's right.
I'm going to be a pastor.
Yep. So that's what I did.
How'd that work out?
So I went down to... That's fine.
You're not a pastor.
I'm not a pastor.
So what happened? Hashtag, I'm not your pastor. Yeah. That's my line. Now you can use it too.
I'm not your pastor.
Hashtag, I'm not your pastor.
That's funny.
I didn't become a pastor. So then what happened? You go to Clearwater.
So I went to Clearwater Christian. Yeah, it's in Florida.
In Clearwater.
Yep. So I flew
Clearwater is like the head of like Scientology.
That's right. So I flew into Tampa. Yeah. Then drove across that bridge there, dropped into campus. Yeah. And I rolled into campus, right? So I applied to all these Christian schools all across the country. I went to Clearwater because at that time, like what I told God is I was like, listen, you need to confirm my decision where you want me to go by people that you put in my path. So 3 people said like, oh yeah, Clearwater's a great school. Clearwater's a great school. Like it was just very evident that that's where I was supposed to go.
All right.
I just at that time in my faith I needed the confirmation from outside sources.
Confirmation is awesome.
Confirmation is always good.
You don't always get it.
But
when you get it, it feels amazing.
When you get it, it feels great. So I went down there and dude, so we roll into the campus and they said they have all these rules and stuff, and you have to like sign off on it and blah blah blah. It was pages, okay? So a little nerve wracking.
Contract.
It was a contract.
Student conduct contract,
dude. So you roll in, man, and there's a guard shack and a dude with a gun.
What?
Yeah.
A gat.
Yeah, right. Literally, as we're cruising in the campus, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And it was just very fundamental like Baptist college.
Sure.
And they had so many rules, it was ridiculous. Like, the guys and the girls couldn't go to the same beach. So check this out. This was trippy. I mean, who knows if they've changed this or not. But the guys went to the secular beach with all the girls from the college, like Tampa University and Florida, like all these public. And our girls had to go to some private beach that no one was at. So I'm like, that makes no sense. Send us both to the same beach so we can hang out with the girls that are Christians, not the girls that are over at the. It made no sense. Like it's just silly.
Or if anything, you put the girls that behave at the other beach. Like, put the guys by themselves.
Right, exactly.
Away from the alcohol.
Yeah, flip it.
And the other chicks.
Yeah, flip it. Like, come on, guys.
Oh, we trust the guys more than the girls. That's a bad plan. I don't know who thought that was a good idea.
I know. Dude. So, I was there for 6 months, and I met some really great people. Yeah. Got some really good training. Like, it was cool. It was a great experience. But I was like, this place is just not for me. Right, and it was so fundamental to the point where my dad, he's full beard, and he has forever. He looks weird without a beard, but he went to the campus and came to visit me, and not a single faculty could actually look at him in the eyes when he walked around because he had a beard.
What?
Everyone else was like clean shaved, like cut. You couldn't even wear it. You couldn't have facial hair or nothing. Wow. It was that fundamental. It was like Pensacola Christian College, very fundamental, very strict. All these rules.
So that what happened?
So that transferred to Liberty University.
Liberty, finally.
Yeah,
Liberty.
Finally, Liberty. Some freedom.
Freedom.
So then I transferred to Liberty because I had some friends that went there and they're like, we love it. It's amazing.
Come over
and
here.
Then Liberty was awesome. It was a true blessing to be under Jerry Falwell's leadership.
When did you? I know you had this. When did this whole idea about storytelling and marketing and branding and when did all that start to really get going?
You mean funnels and like marketing and selling?
Even just like getting like I know you said like you had the story that you said like once you knew You kind of found
the plan. Yeah, so it happened at Liberty.
Okay.
So I think what you're asking is like, when did I realize my purpose?
Yeah.
So what happened was I was at Liberty, and it was 2005, a spiritual emphasis week, and I had this guy David Nasser come in, and he wrote a book called A Call to Die, and he spoke, and his message just resonated with me. And one of the things that hit me was that I was harboring anger and bitterness against my dad. Like I was like angry on the inside. I was bitter for the way that he was showing up in my experience as a kid. And he was a great dad. Like he was there supportive and loving and all that stuff. But it's just like there were some things that were festering in me. And I realized that the thing that was holding me back from finding my purpose was my anger and my bitterness with my father. And so God was revealing to me at that time through Spiritual Emphasis Week, where we're like deep in scripture, we're deep in worship, we're deep in we're deep in receiving words from pastors from all over the world. And what I realized is that I needed to forgive my dad. So it was as clear as day. God was like, you need to man up and you need to forgive your dad completely.
Wow.
So God needed me to actually go to my dad and say, Dad, please forgive me for X, Y, and Z. Please forgive me for this. Right. Where like that's not contrary to what you'd think to do, right? Like when someone's hurt you, the thing to think, when you've been hurt, it's contrary to think you man up and you ask for forgiveness. Sure. It's opposite.
But in the kingdom, it's opposite.
In the kingdom, it's opposite.
So we sow what we want. So we want. Right. So we go seeking forgiveness first for our side of it. There's always two sides.
Yeah.
We go clean our side of the street. We go asking for forgiveness.
That's right.
We sow that seed, and then of course there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee.
But usually it is pretty well received.
Right.
And I've never thought. I hear a lot about. So we pray a lot. We pray for the sick, and I definitely have seen forgiveness hinder healing.
Yeah.
When sometimes when we pray for the sick and the healing isn't coming.
Right.
There's often I'll go, hey, just curious, like, is there anyone that you need to forgive?
Yeah.
Because the healing isn't manifesting.
Right.
And the Bible is clear, like when you hold on to unforgiveness.
Yeah.
Like literally the demonic has a legal right.
Yep. That's right.
To afflict you. So almost always like, yep. I'm like, great, well, can we do that now? Like, do you want your healing?
Right.
Like, 'cause we gotta forgive this person if you want to get healed. And so, sure enough, we'll walk them through a prayer of forgiveness. Then the healing comes. What you said is interesting. Is God had you forgive your father before He revealed to you your purpose?
Yeah, that's right.
I never heard that before. Like, that's a key for some of you here. Like, if you're like, Lord, what's my call? What's my purpose? Like, you want that clarity. Forgiveness could be hindering your ability to see that, and I never.
It is. I believe.
I've never heard that before.
I believe that it's hindering more people. A lot of people don't know their purpose. Like it's
tons. That's the number one
common problem.
I mean, purpose-driven life sold what 40 million copies. I mean,
exactly.
That's a big. That's something that people are after.
For me, I just know that's my truth, right? Like that's my story, and I know the thing that was getting in my way. Not only my purpose, but it was actually because I had all that bitterness and anger in my heart. It was holding me back. See, now I can see on the other side. Mm-hmm. So what I see on the other side is that God began to give me visions and began to speak to me more clearly on the other side of forgiveness. Right? So I look at that as a formula. Like, what did I find on the other side of forgiveness? So when I forgave my dad, first of all I said, Dad, please forgive me for this, and that. He broke down naturally and was in tears, and he said, please forgive me. So then God told me before I even went into it, He gave me the formula. He said, man up, forgive him completely, and then receive his forgiveness openly. Like open arms, right?
That's awesome.
So I believe we came back to a place of like, we didn't have there's no blocks, right? We're like negative, we released all that negative baggage, right? And I find it's interesting because if you even look at the Hawaiian culture, they have a similar way of dealing with this stuff, and it's called Ho'oponopono. So and I didn't know about that. I didn't find out about that years later. But if you actually look at the Hawaiian, like this whole Ho'oponopono concept, it's I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, which is the similar concept of
and a lot of Hawaiian. I was just in Oahu this year in April.
Yeah.
Come to find out, a lot of like Hawaii was a kingdom. You had a kingdom structure. There were kings.
True.
There were kings and villages. It was. I'm reading the history. I'm like, wow. And we did a zip line.
Yeah.
At this place, and it was like, oh, there was like, it talked about how it used to be, and there was kings of villages, and they used to work together. And it wasn't until like Cook or someone showed up, and they brought disease and all this stuff, and so I didn't know there was so much kingdom culture in Hawaii.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
And that's a kingdom principle, obviously.
Right.
So you and your dad, this awesome reconciliation. And it's crazy, like. There's a lot of people like there's someone I know. So there's a pretty well known apostle in our movement. His name is Cheon. He's here in Pasadena.
Okay.
Him and his dad had a powerful reconciliation, and then revival broke out in his ministry. Immediately after that.
Yeah.
Like so, this huge growth in his church and outbreak of revival and salvations and healings, literally, like. Was all being held up because like there was not reconciliation in his own home. And then Pete Vargas, a good friend of ours, has a similar story. So man, like it just amazes me. The kingdom is inside out. And there's so many things that we want to see happen outside in our business, in our life, in our ministry, whatever. And yet like it has to, and for it to be authentic and for it to be real and for God to be behind it, and it has to be inside out.
Right.
So it's like, what's happening in the inner circle? What's happening behind closed doors? Like, what's happening in the home?
Right.
Is going to have a huge impact about what really God's going to allow you to happen outside, and it's
true.
Private preparation.
That's right.
Sets you up for public celebration, and so this thing about fathers and sons and hearts connect, that's a big deal. And so I'm encouraging you, like this is an area, like if you're stuck, if you don't feel like your life's has the grace on it, the favor on it, like where are you at with your folks, man? Like this is like one of the things in the scripture, like it just talks about this, that like you want to do your part to be good with your parents, to be clean with your parents. Your parents might be knuckleheads, man. They might be crazy. Like,
I would say
you can't make them love you. You can't make them forgive you, but at least get your part cleaned up.
I'd say with all relationships, man, with siblings, with past relationships, like God showed me, it was like years later. So that was 2005. 2013, I went through, there was a girl that I was, with, and we were, together for 3 years, and, this whole thing, kind of went crazy. And God showed me, when she was unfaithful in my relationship, God showed me, he was like, man up, you need to forget, you need to ask her for forgiveness. Like, it brought me back to the same formula.
Right. You're like, I didn't do anything wrong. She's the one that, she messed up.
I'm like,
why am I asking for forgiveness?
Right. Exactly. And everyone around me was like, you need to, cut her out of your life. And God was like, no, you need to protect. And like literally everybody, except for maybe my dad. My dad was very gracious.
Wow.
But it was just interesting that God brought that same situation back from a different perspective. Right. I had to forgive my dad, and I had to restore my relationship with him. But then he showed me the same formula in an intimate relationship. And because I went that route, like the God path, like I chose that path rather than going and doing what man was telling me to do. Like there's been a lot of blessing on the other side of both.
Because if you sow grace, you're gonna get grace.
Yeah.
Right? In the kingdom, we reap what we sow. Like
that's right.
The world calls it karma. It's not karma. It's just sowing and reaping. Yeah. If you want grace, sow grace. If you want mercy, sow mercy. I mean, it's very simple.
It's very simple. As simple as that.
If you judge, then guess what you're gonna reap? Judgment. It's very simple. Yeah. So man, so we're here in your studio. All this hardware. People are like, "What is all this stuff? What's all these awards, man?" So like, fast forward us, man. Bring us to like the present, man. Like I'm looking at all these 2 Comma Club awards, 2 Comma Club X awards. So man, like tell me. I know you just had a baby.
Yeah.
Like married, baby, crazy success. I know you guys had a prominent, super successful promotion with Dean and Tony.
Yeah.
So kind of fast forward me till today, and like first of all, what does it mean to be a kingdom entrepreneur to you now? Like, what is that? And we've got to hang out a little bit now too, so you're kind of just in our world a little bit more.
Right.
But like, what is that? What's Bryan Dulaney's understanding or version of being a kingdom entrepreneur? Like, what does that look like to you as someone who's done $10 million through this funnel and $10 million running through this funnel, and then like, what does that look like and feel like to you now? Like, maybe now, and like, how has it evolved?
Yeah, I think like, so for me, like a kingdom entrepreneur is someone who it's not about spirituality or Christianity on Sunday. It's all week, right? It's what do we do Monday through Sunday, and then again Monday through Sunday, and what is the impact that we have in the marketplace, right? Like Jerry Falwell, one of my mentors, said, if it's Christian, it should be better. And I believe that's true too.
If it's Christian, it should be better.
That's right.
Now, that's a standard that we don't normally see.
That's a standard we don't know.
Typically, we see, well, it's Christian, so let's give them some grace. They have a low budget. They can't. Christian movies, historically, have been
That's true.
terrible. Like, let's be very real.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
I
true.
mean, there's like real movies, and there was Christian movies.
Right.
There was like real rap, and there was Christian rap. Right? There was a big difference.
That's true.
Right? It's trying to look right. And I was like, it's getting better. It's getting good. Right? Thank God for Kanye. Now we got like,
Yeah, right.
Anyhow, but for real, I mean, like, when it was Christian, we just assumed, we knew it wasn't going to be as good. And I think that's an indictment to God.
Yeah.
Like, so
I say it all the time. My superpower is the fact that I hear God's voice and I'm able to move and act on and be obedient
say it
to
again.
what He
The
speaks.
superpower is what?
The superpower is hearing His voice and being able to move on that directive. Period. Like, I mean, when I was interviewed in the Inner Circle with Russell, $50,000 Mastermind, the one that we're in,
Yeah.
it was like, what's the key to unlocking 8 figures in multiple businesses, not just one? And it was like, listen, like, I can tell you about strategy. I talk about advertising. I talk about how to create offers. I talk about all that stuff.
That's good.
And that's all important. That's all necessary to talk about because you have to do that stuff. But what trumps it all is being able to hear God's voice and being able to get creativity and wisdom from the source of all creation.
Yeah. Hear and obey. Hear and obey. Jesus, the spirit of wisdom, all things were made by Him, for Him, and through Him.
That's right.
So Jesus invented marketing. It was His idea. ClickFunnels was God's. It was. Let's in Colossians. All things were made in Him, through Him, and by Him.
That's right.
Marketing, software, offers, Facebook, all the tools that we use as marketers today. All these tools were made in, through, and by Jesus, for Jesus, for His glory. So to be a believer, to be a kingdom entrepreneur, to have access to the source,
Supernatural wisdom, and then hear and obey, like, guys, like, this is our unfair advantage, right? It is.
And I like how, Brian's he's clever. He calls them he calls it the downloads.
Right.
I get downloads to kind of keep it, PG.
Or promptings.
Right. I get promptings. I get just smart. Listen, guys, when you're in, you're going to be in certain environments. Just because you're a kingdom entrepreneur doesn't mean you have to be crazy overt and waving your Christian flag all around, because that may shut down doors.
Yeah.
So Brian's super smart. He knows that this mastermind that we're a part of, like, he's able to have more impact and more influence by being a little bit more covert in terms of how he talks about these things, and it creates a little bit more curiosity. And so,
oh yeah, I mean, I had people that are in that group that are atheists and willing to have a dialogue and a conversation about what does that look like.
what does that mean?
What does prompting mean? What does
what's a
downloads
download?
mean?
Yeah, they're
Right, so
curious.
they're curious. So that's how I view being a kingdom entrepreneur is, church is not just for Sunday.
Yeah.
It's what we do throughout the entire week, right? Are we living, eating, and breathing the message that we're called to live out?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, guys, like, just because you're a kingdom entrepreneur doesn't mean you're going to have a very overtly Christian brand or message.
Sure.
But Pedro, what about, you've got Hunter X, and that's very overt. Yeah, it is overt, but I didn't start out with an overtly Christian company. I've got my first 2 Comma Club award I won as a financial planner.
Right.
In just a normal brick and mortar financial planning business that we scaled using ClickFunnels.
Yeah.
That wasn't overtly Christian. And so again, I want you guys to see that, like, here's Bryan. He's got funnel system,
Yep.
the perfect funnel system.
Yep.
Right? That's not overtly Christian.
No.
You've helped all kinds of people. You guys have a mastermind.
Yep.
You help all kinds of people get success.
Right.
And yet you're able to still, like, they can see your life. They get to be around you. You get to put some seeds in it.
To me, I love talking about marketing. I love talking about like selling and funnels and offers and all this fun stuff. But I also like to talk about spirituality and how spirituality applies to business.
Yeah.
So to me, that's how I operate as a kingdom entrepreneur. And I'm able to speak to those things. And yeah, like for some people, when I talk about marketing, I can talk to everybody. Mm-hmm. When I talk about selling and marketing and funnels, and like everybody needs help there.
100%.
So I can influence there, right? Once they come into my world, then I can influence them on a greater level. When I talk about spirituality and business, it's all about how I'm talking about spirituality and business, right? If I'm speaking about Jesus, then I might rub people the wrong way, right? People might not be ready for that conversation yet, right? They just don't grasp.
They don't know you well enough. You haven't added enough value to them yet.
Right.
There's no rapport.
Right.
So then so now, like, as a marketer, you're doing some really cool stuff. Mm-hmm. What are some of the, like right now, like, what are some of the things that excite you? You've done some really cool stuff. What gets you fired up, right? What gets you fired up? What are some new things that you got that you're thinking about for 2020?
Yeah.
And also, real quick, you were just at our event.
Yep.
And before you talk about 2020,
Yeah.
like, I think it was your first time really being in our atmosphere and kind of seeing what, I've been telling you about it a little bit. What was it like?
I thought it was awesome, man. Yeah.
What was it like being at the Hunter X conference?
I think it was awesome.
What did you see? Like, what stood out to you, and
What I loved about it was, and I've, like, when I met you at Fun Hiking Live, I was like, I saw your brand, and I immediately loved it because there's not a lot of people that are kingdom business. Like, people like to separate those two things.
Sure.
That's why I go back to, like, church over here and business over here. Like, you're like, okay, let's not do that anymore.
Yep.
Right? Let's stop that. Right? But as a society, culture of Christians, it's people don't understand how to bring both of those worlds together. Mm-hmm. In fact, I remember you said one of your most successful ads was one where you felt like it's like a tug of war concept, right? So for me, like, love what you're up to, and I instantly resonated with that. So I was pumped to talk to you. We talked for over an hour at Fun Hiking Live.
We missed one of the key.
We missed Brendan. Sorry, Brendan. We missed your talk.
We got the video though. It was
okay.
It was solid.
Yeah. But for me, like, what was awesome is that you had business strategy, and then you also had prophetic word, and pastors come in and speak and bring the spiritual aspect into the conference, which is like never really been done before. I've never seen that happen. I think as more people see it happening, I think it's going to become more common now.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just going to be it's going to be more natural because people are like, oh, there's a model.
Yeah.
Like, it's just what happens. People model success.
Yeah.
Right?
And we want them to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should be.
Just model success.
Just model success.
And
right?
just do it at a high level.
Exactly. Right.
Right. Like, do it at a high level.
Don't copy success. Model and create your own version of it. Right. The other thing I loved about it is I got to speak for like 10 hours.
All the time. Yeah, man. You crushed it. Like, you were on stage a lot. We had a 1-day intensive before the event.
Yep.
And
prior to that, we had it Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right.
Afternoon.
That's right.
To the Mastermind.
Yeah, and so one of the things, guys, that like the people I'm going to bring to you on this show are people that actually walk the walk, right? Like, there's so many people that talk about topics and they used to be in business. Mm-hmm. Oh, I used to be an entrepreneur. I used to be in business. And now they talk about marketplace ministry. They talk about stuff. Mm-hmm. And they did stuff 5, 7, 10, 20 years ago. They're still telling those
And now
stories.
they're trying to monetize their
God, like,
consult. They're trying to consult on something they don't do anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like, and so look, I'm not trying to knock anyone down, but I'm just saying, like, the world's different than 20 years ago, even 10 years ago,
Even
10,
5 years
even
ago.
10 months ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Very different.
Like, what were 10 months ago was already shit. I mean, like,
True.
literally, so I'm always going to bring to you practitioners. I'm always going to bring to you people here who don't just have a revelation of the kingdom and have high ethics, high integrity, but are actually, like, doing some amazing things, having incredible impact, real results, because that's what is needed. For believers and Christians to be attractive to the world around them, to have that influence, the world's looking for results.
Right.
The world's looking for solutions to their problems. Okay? And so man, you came and you served and you just broke it down, and obviously this type of success doesn't just happen, right?
Right.
There's a lot of strategy and methods and techniques. So I guess just share this, Bryan. Like, where do you see
2020?
What's the future of marketing look like? What do you got planned for 2020? And maybe let's end with just maybe
I've got a lot of good stuff for you.
Yeah, do it.
It's building. So my vision is that we have, I've helped a handful of companies go from 0 to 10 million and more. And so my bigger vision is that we have 100 partners or more doing 10 million a year. And that's our model. We have an agency. Okay. But on top of that, there is I think what's really important is these two concepts, I talk about them all the time, is combining thought leadership and expertise and expert wisdom with selling something, whether it's a service or a physical product. You look at Dave Asprey, what he's done with Bulletproof. It's brilliant. Yeah. He's got thought leadership. He's got his podcast. He's got his books. He speaks. And over here, he sells coffee. Like, massive disruptor. Now he's got his the whole core of his whole business is based on the concept that most coffee has neurotoxins. If you want to drink neurotoxin coffee, then you're going to drink the stuff that they're selling out in the street, right? Or you can buy Bulletproof and not be affected by that neurotoxin. So I think the future of marketing and the future of brands is they need to get smart, because there is a multiplier of at least 10x on bringing together thought leadership plus products. Yeah. And I think the more brands I see in the next 5 to 10 years, the more companies that are doing both, meaning having thought leadership plus selling something, whether it's a physical product or a service or even an information product, those are going to be the ones that you can't compete with, because you think about it, at the end of the day, he who can spend more money to acquire a customer wins. Therefore, the higher your value ladder is, the more you can spend. Value ladder is a series of offers. Basically, the higher your lifetime value of your customers. Let's say, for example, your lifetime value of your customer is $5,000. Well, mine's over $1 million. So I can spend money for days. I can spend money for years and not monetize it at all. But mine's $1 million. So when I get the right person, I know I win. So I can spend money for a long, long time and not. And that's a big deal. No, that's a big deal. Okay,
that's going to get even more important, because guys, like, Facebook conversions are already more expensive. Yeah. Like all the platforms are going to get more and more and more expensive. Yeah. Right. And so the fact is, like, being able to market profitably is going to be huge.
Just supply and demand conversation, right?
Branding is branding, and it ain't going to go away. Right. But like what I think you're saying is like that. I'm building brand through podcasts and thought leadership and content, 100%. But at the same time, you can't afford to build brand forever
with nothing to sell
without having some. Yeah, so now you have direct response. Right. Now you have direct response marketing, and I think those two worlds are merging. They're converging. I think the information product business and the physical product business, they're converging. Mm-hmm. And if you really want to thrive and succeed and take territory in 2020. I agree with you, man. You really have to figure out a way to, like, how do you build brand profitably? Yep. And that means direct response. You have to have some solid offers and funnels, right? Or else you're going to just, you can only create content so much before you're like, what am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? Right. And then, the information product business is dicey. So being able to think about how can you create physical products that complement or support what you're doing is going to be super smart.
100%.
And
I think like there's a show called The Loudest Voice, and it's basically how Fox became a network.
Oh wow.
And basically the concept, I mean, it's a pretty clear concept. I mean, Gary Vee has a loud voice. You know, he's got an agency on the back end with a fat lifetime value, and he can talk for days, and that's all he can do is just talk and talk and talk.
Underwritten. It's underwritten by his $300 million
right.
agency that works for Pepsi and some of the biggest
right.
brands in the world, right?
Exactly. So I think the other thing is that, and this is where we're spending a lot of time and energy, we just got done creating a 365-day content plan. So we're going to produce more than 365 video pieces of content like this in 2020. And that's just going to, and it's going to be more. It's probably more like 400 or 500 pieces of content like this. Imagine having that for your brand. I don't even have that much, and I've been in business for 13 years. But we're going to have that in 1 year. And it's so important. I'll drive the point home for you guys because I think it's very important. It's very important to put the cart before the horse, though. Dial in your offers. Okay, It's not about your funnel. It's never about your funnel. We won this campaign for Tony and Dean by selling, close to 500 units in 2 weeks with one page. Okay, so it's not about the funnel. It's about the offers, and it's about the message of those offers to the market. So that's it.
So let's get a little bit technical before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Offer creation. You and I have talked about this quite a bit.
Yep.
Marketing. I view marketing as marketing is an amplifier. Mm-hmm. Marketing is an amplifier, and it's going to bring more attention and awareness to something. But even great marketing isn't going to win if your offer stinks.
Right.
If your offer stinks, all you're doing is spending marketing to get eyeballs so more of the world knows that your offer sucks.
Right.
Like, so you're literally spending money to actually kill your brand because you're letting more people know that your offers are good.
And how you know your offers are great is that people are raving about it.
Yeah.
Like, right, this is the conversation I talk about. Is like, we can focus on leads and sales, but the companies that are focused on creating a tribe of raving fans, they're going to win at the end of the day. Yeah. And I can give you examples of companies that focus on leads and sales compared to companies that focus on building a tribe, and it's significantly more profitable to build a tribe. So if we're going to build something, number one, we have to have a bigger vision. Lululemon, do you know Lululemon spent a decade doing advertorial type content in magazines? All they did is provide value. They never, for a decade, pitched a sale. Whereas most clothing companies, during that time, it was 70% off, 20% off, 30% off. No, Lululemon, they don't do sales. They just provided value in advance in yoga journals for a decade. Do you know how much vision that takes? Now they're $1 billion plus brand because they had the vision
and the patience
and the bank account to support.
But still, it. Yeah, I mean, all that matters.
All of that matters.
I mean, you have to have the right strategy. Like, you can't. Like, it's a long-term game. Being a kingdom entrepreneur is not a sprint.
Right.
It's when you say yes to being a kingdom entrepreneur, like, you are playing a lifelong game.
Right. It's not a Hail Mary.
This is not a Hail Mary quick money grab, right? So make sure that what you're doing is sustainable for the long run, right?
Here's the quick way to do that. Stack the deck in your favor. Okay, I talk about this all the time.
So
stack the deck in your favor. How do you stack the deck in your favor? You have a series of offers to help people on their journey. If you're info-based, from a combination, I think even if you sell physical supplements, you should be info-based. And I can give you countless examples of that. But there's 3 categories of offers. Do it yourself, done with you, and done for you. If you can cover all of those areas, you will have a significantly higher lifetime value, and you'll be able to spend more money to acquire customers. Now you might say, well, Bryan, I don't want to do anything for them. Great, go find some companies that do. Create a joint venture connection. You tee them up. You make a kickback on it. It's called a referral fee. It's called an affiliate commission, right? Therefore,
not that wrong. It's smart. It's good stewardship.
It's just smart. It's good stewardship, and your lifetime value will go up. The reality of it is, you want to have your lifetime value be as high as you can. You stack the deck in your favor. If your lifetime value is $10, let's say you're selling glass cups, right? Like, you only have so much margin on that.
How can you market profitably if you're thinking? If it's not for $10, the most you can spend on marketing is $10.
Yeah.
And even then you're going to lose
break
money.
even.
Yeah, break even, you lose money.
It's a bad model. You got to go sell. Then you have to go to a big box who are going to slash your prices and kill your margins, and you're going to maybe sell the company, whatever. But it's like you want to stack the deck in your favor. And then what I would say is after you have a solid set of offers that people desperately want, right? And it produces results. Because at the end of the day, people buy results, period. Like, that's all we pay for is we pay for results.
People buy results, and you should be selling results.
That's it. Period. Like don't. What do you sell?
Not selling features. Don't sell benefits. Sell results.
You sell results.
Like, this is what.
Right.
Here's what you're gonna get, and because here's what you're gonna get, and here's what you're gonna have.
Yep.
Because of this.
That's right.
That means this. That means you'll be able to achieve this. Right.
That's right.
So is there a formula? Or is there like how do you create your offers?
So,
like,
give
me some of the mental checks.
The way I look through offers first is that, first of all, I look at, even with branding. So one of the guys on my team that does branding at a high level has done 38 of 100 Fortune 100 companies.
Wow.
Okay, so, big brands, Paul Mitchell and Starbucks and just big brands.
Wow.
And so one of the things that we did when we rebranded one of in our mastermind is called Legacy Builders. And so what we did was he said, listen, send me all of the masterminds that are at the highest level in your market. And so I took them all. I'm not going to name them. But I took them all and I sent them all the websites. And he goes, you got to be kidding me. This is the best in the industry? And I go, yeah. He's like, this is easy.
It's a bunch of marketers, bro.
He's like, this is easy.
These are marketers. We're not branding guys.
Yeah, they're not branding guys, right?
No, so direct response.
Branding, I believe, will become more important.
100%.
And the analogy is this: direct response marketing is very important. Okay, it would, and the old way of marketing, like 5 years ago, was very direct response driven. Direct response is important in marketing. Don't get me wrong.
You need it.
But branding is important as well. And I'll drive home this point home like real quickly. Okay, I told one of my clients this who's made a ton of money speaking from stages. I said, you probably wouldn't walk out in your underwear if you're going to give a talk, would you? And he's like, no, I wouldn't do that. I was like, exactly. So should your brand look professional? Should you look legit? Should you look
Brian,
clean?
What's the point?
He's like, it's like, bro, the way you're showing up in that past situation, you look like you're walking across stage in your underwear. I'm not able to associate that trust. So branding is a way to significantly differentiate yourself instantly. But if you look like a Ferrari and you have a Kia engine, like your offer sucks, like you need to fix that. Like you can't be driving around a Ferrari. And people will talk about it. Yeah. So the biggest thing I can say is like you have to, up-level your brand. That's easy. That's appearance. That anybody can do. Okay. Don't look like a bum. But on top of that, you have to back that up with results and have solid products and services that you're selling. And then I would say the big focus for us for 2020 is the loudest voice wins. So we're going to produce a lot of content. Yeah. But we're not producing content without a solid business model in place with a value of offers, a series of offers for them to go to. Right? Like Gary has his back end with his agency. Grant Cardone has tons of offers. Russell Brunson has tons of offers, right?
Sure.
And so now they can do all this stuff. In the marketplace, you see these guys and they're just like ranting and raving and talking and producing content. And you see them doing that and you think that that's what you should be doing. That is what you should be doing at a certain stage once you have your offers in place. Once that's all dialed in, and that takes some time, especially if you're trying to do it yourself. The fastest path would be to hire a team of experts to help you who already has expertise in that area. Yeah. That's the fastest path. Like the slow model is like try to do it yourself, But now that we have that infrastructure in place, like what we're focused on is, okay, let's go build audience. Let's go be the loudest voice in the marketplace, and let's go add massive value. And I'll drive it home with this. Last year, literally a year ago, I did a 30-day challenge to myself, and that was to go live on Facebook for 30 days. And I had no idea what I was going to talk about the whole 30 days. I was just committed to going live for 30 days, right? I went live for 31 because I'm a fan of over-delivering. And what was crazy was I had 2 clients come in in the last 2 weeks who paid $15,000 for a one-day intensive, which is normal. And I said, where did you hear about us? And they said, and these 2 different people said, I found you through your 30 days of Facebook Live. So something that I did for free over a year ago produced 30 grand in less than a week, a year later. Okay,
That's branding.
That's the value of branding. That's the value of being the loudest voice. That's the value of this now.
But then you had an offer. There's both.
Right.
It's the value of branding.
Yep.
Branding creates awareness.
Yep.
Branding starts a conversation. The direct response converts the conversation.
Right.
And so, guys, like this is what it is. Like this is just what it's gonna take in 2020 and beyond.
What it's gonna take.
So Bryan, man, like just a final thought. If for aspiring kingdom entrepreneurs that are watching this, final thought. What as we're shooting this in November of 2019.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna be thinking about 2020 pretty soon.
Yeah.
Like practical steps for maybe an early stage entrepreneur.
I mean, I would say here's the deal, real quick. Don't lone wolf it. Like surround yourself with the right pack. Like back when I was at Slippery Rock University, I wasn't around the right pack, and that led me down to nearly dying. So surround yourself with the right pack.
Yeah.
Really important. That means get into masterminds or join groups of other people that are on the same journey that are playing at a higher level than you are, so you can up-level your game, right? You're the average of the 5 people you hang around with, so start hanging around with billionaires and you'll become a billionaire. The other thing is, I'd say hire a mentor. Find somebody who's further along in the journey who can show you the way, right? Like if you're going to go climb Mount Everest, you're not going to do it by yourself, I hope. Right? Like you're going to have a mentor, a guide who's already done it and taken people successfully through that journey, successfully to the top and back. You don't want to go up with a rookie or someone who's never done it before. Like that's ridiculous. It's like I say this all the time. I got my 2nd degree black belt in Taekwondo. I never in a million years would have thought I got that by watching YouTube videos or buying courses. I got stupid, right? That's silly. So find a mentor, find a sensei, find a master.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I would like to share with you is create the plan before you go and build it, right? Like you don't build a house without an architectural blueprint.
Yeah.
Like you go to the architect builds the blueprint, and then you can build a house. Like you would never just go, let's say you have an acre of land and you're like, all right, I want to build a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house.
Let's just start.
Let's just go down to Home Depot and hire a bunch of orange aprons. Like that's ridiculous. But that's what everyone's doing in the marketplace. They think that, oh, let me go run down to Home Depot. Number one, those Home Depot employees are cheap. Like, oh, I can hire them for cheap, right? Well, number one, they're not equipped or trained to build a house.
No.
And number two, they don't know what kind of house you want.
They're barely trying to do their job now.
Exactly. That's what everyone's doing. That's what the marketplace is doing, and that's what thought leaders are telling the marketplace to actually do, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I want you to avoid that. Don't do that. Create the right blueprint and the right roadmap and the right plans for you. Right? We all have a different. We all have a different fingerprint. Right? Like. Model success, don't copy it, model it, make it your own, make it better. If you're going to model something, like the concept of funnel hacking, unfortunately has led to people to copying. Yeah. But the reality of what funnel hacking is funnel hacking is model success. That's the core of the heart of Russell. And it's like, but it got misconstrued.
Yeah.
Right? And so you see a lot of copycats, a lot of of the same thing and the same messaging in the marketplace. You got to find a way to be different and stand out. That's why I dressed up like Willy Wonka, right? Like I was like, I've got to get these people's attention.
It worked, man.
And it worked. Yes.
It worked, man. Well, guys, dude, thanks so much, Bryan.
You're welcome,
for
man.
letting us into your
awesome.
studio.
Yeah. It's been great.
Yeah. So, guys, I mean, show up different. It's literally like your offer needs to stand out from other offers. How can you make it better? Bryan, we didn't get to unpack it too much, but like this award right here for Mastermind.
Yep.
You guys had a huge success promoting Tony and Dean's program because you guys differentiate yourself through offer creation, right? So play to your strengths. Play to your strengths. Build unique offers, and then just stay faithful. Stay faithful. Like I told you earlier, private preparation leads to public celebration. And guys, 2020 is wide open. It's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. You're gonna hear me say that. The kingdom era is here. The kingdom is advancing now. This is our time. This is your time to shine. There has never been more opportunity in entrepreneurship for the kingdom.
For sure.
And so again, guys, we're going to keep bringing you shows like this every single week that not just inspire you, motivate you, but also equip you to find your path in the marketplace. There is a path for you. There is room for you. There's a place for you. We're here to help you find it. Thanks so much for watching this episode, and we will see you next time. Bryan, thanks so much, man.
Thanks, brother.
Awesome.